Hello, I'm McKenna Northern, and I'm going to be talking about 7 things for my education final. One of them is going to be formative versus summative assessments. Another thing is going to be Wiley's hierarchy. The third is schema. The fourth is the teaching game Kahoot, the app iMovie, how to download fonts, and how to post YouTube videos. So here we go. I'm going to start with formative versus summative assessments. Formative assessments are things like quizzes, summaries, or self-evaluation type tests. A formative assessment can be done at any time during the semester or term and is normally a lower stakes type of tests. These tests should test how well the students are retaining the information that the teachers have been teaching. If the majority of the students are not doing well on their formative assessments, then it is probably not the kids' fault and the teacher should reevaluate his or her teaching methods. A summative assessment is more like a final test with higher stakes. This type of test will require more from the student, maybe putting more pressure or anxiety among them. But if a teacher has been giving formative assessments, then the student should know the material and experience minimal amounts of stress if they have been taking the class seriously. The next topic that I will be speaking on is Wiley's hierarchy. The definition given to me was, the more unusual the object, the greater the need to illustrate. I'm going to give you an example of an image, and I'm going to try to explain it to you. This image is very colorful with lots of different flowers, animals, and almost coral-looking like things on it. Now I'm going to show you the image. Is this what you were imagining? This image was very complex to explain. I did not feel like I did this picture any justice by what I said. But this is why Wiley's hierarchy is so important. If teachers try to get up in front of their class and explain how to do the hardest math concept without putting anything on the board, no student will understand it. Or if an art teacher tries to get her students to draw this picture without showing it to them first, they will not draw this picture. The more unusual the image, the greater the need to illustrate it. Next topic is called schema. Schema is the general idea about something. When a teacher is trying to use schema in his or her teaching, they should try to activate prior knowledge and link new information to old information and link old information to new information. A simple example of using schema in a math class would be how math consistently builds on itself. When you learn how to add 2 numbers together, the next thing is to learn how to add 3 or more numbers together. Math continuously builds on itself, making it very important for teachers to know how to use the idea of schema correctly. The next topic that I'm going to be talking about is the testing tool called Kahoot. Kahoot is a fun game like a test that teachers can use to keep kids involved in class. The tests are fairly simple to put together, and the process of putting them together almost resembles a PowerPoint. The tests are slides that have questions with their answers and an option to put a picture on them. Teachers can put true or false questions, multi-choice questions, open-ended questions, or even poll-like questions. Once the teacher creates a game, then all the students have to do to start the test is to put the game pin in and the game can begin. Another great thing that Kahoot can bring to the table is that in between every question shows a leaderboard. This adds a sense of competition that some kids thrive on. The teacher can also put a time limit on the questions, making it as long or as short as he or she needs it to be. This is not something that I would use as a summative assessment for super high stakes, but as a low stakes test for fun like bell work or a start of a class activity. The next thing that I'm going to be talking about is called iMovie. I am actually giving this presentation on iMovie right now, and I really love this app. You can get it on any iOS device, and it comes pre-installed in any newer iPhone. You can upload pictures to your movie and choose to use the Ken Burns effect to make the pictures move across the screen differently. You can also choose how you want your pictures to fade into the next slide. It is fairly simple to use, and I think that 7th and 8th graders could make interesting presentations using this app. The hardest part about using this app is lining up the pictures with the correct part of the story. But once the students figure out that they can make the picture appear for longer or shorter amounts of time, it is pretty simple to use. The next thing that I will be talking about is how to download different fonts to use online. The first thing you need to do is find a website such as 1001 Free Fonts or DaFont. Once you get to the site, find the type of font that you want. What I was looking for was a good font to put at the top of my newspaper, so I chose Old London. When you download the font, it downloads as a zip file. What this means is the file is meant to be transferred to part of your computer. So the font is meant to be transferred to Microsoft Word on my computer. Then you need to go to your downloads and find the font that you just downloaded, and find the one that says True Type Font. This one is the one you want to double click on and install, as I have shown you in the pictures in this presentation. Then all you have to do is find it in your fonts, and you can use it like any other font in your fonts tab. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is how to upload things onto YouTube. First, you need to make a YouTube account. It is pretty simple and just requires a few pieces of information. Then you need to get your video on your computer. I find it 100 times easier to do it on the computer because you can download your video directly to your computer, then download the video from your computer to YouTube. After you get a YouTube account, you need to download the file with your video to the website. On the top left corner, there is a little camera with a plus inside of it. That is where you download your video that you have saved to your computer. As it downloads, it will ask you to answer a few questions such as, is it for kids? Then it gets to a question that says, do you want to make this public, private, or unlisted? What unlisted means is that people can only see it if you give them the link to your video. They cannot search it in the regular YouTube search bar. The only way a person can see it is if you show them or if you give them the link. A lot of teachers will use this if their kids have to post a video to the website for a homework assignment, and they may be embarrassed, but this way the teacher can assure the kid that the only person that will see it is them. Now I'm going to give you a quick summary of what we just went over and how I think I might use these in my classroom in the future. Formative and summative assessments will correspond to my career choice to teach math because I know I want to use both of them. I will give a weekly homework quiz and a final. I have learned that including formative assessments in the classroom really helps a student learn to their full capacity. Wiley's hierarchy can help me because I need to know how to illustrate all the math that I do. If I do not clearly understand and illustrate a problem, then the kid will not get it and they will lose focus and interest very fast. Math is a hard subject to like, and I would like to do my best to make students enjoy what they do. The idea of schema can also help me in my future classroom because I have to know that I have to keep the past ideas present in my students' minds because math does build on itself so much. If I do not do this, then the students will not succeed and will lose interest. The Kahoot app would be a great ice-breaking game for the beginning of class. All students need to have is a cellular device or a computer to play the game, and then, after that, the app does everything for them. The app is not hard for kids to understand and for teachers to use, and it would be simple to integrate into any classroom as long as a teacher is willing and open to it. I'm not going to lie to you, iMovie is a little tougher to use than Kahoot, but it also does different things. This is not something that super young kids can use, but I would say starting in 7th and 8th grade, a kid would be able to make an interesting project on anything. I could use this to make presentations for math classes if I'm going to be gone, and it is something that students can watch and pause and rewatch if they need to. This app would be hard to use for a child with special needs, but a normal student could use it and thrive in it. Finding fonts is complicated if you do not have the directions in front of you. It is cool to find out how to do things, but the concept can be confusing at times. I love being able to find cool fonts, but unless I absolutely had to, I do not think that I would go out of my way to find a new font. This is not something that I would ever make my math students do, but it may be something that I do for a presentation, even though I do not believe math should be taught on presentations. Downloading videos to YouTube is something that is a good thing to know for any student. I would use it to share videos that I have made with my students. I may not make them upload videos to YouTube, but my videos being able to be shared with them so easily is something that I will never overlook. I hope this video finds you well and that it helps you understand some of these topics that I have just explained. Thank you for listening.